This video is how to do a full Metalflake project with candy colors, airbrush patterns, panels, pretty much everything you need to know. It's pretty in-depth. It's a long video, but it goes into detail. I'm doing this on a Mailbox, but it's the same products, same procedure, all the same techniques that you would use on a motorcycle, car roof, anything metal. So check this out. So here's everything that you would need to do a Metalflake project, from bare metal all the way up to the clear. So once you get everything sanded down, prepped, what you want to do, you're going to start with, I start with a epoxy primer here, and I mix it with 10% more reducer and make it a sealer. Just make sure you got a good surface to start with. So then once you're going to put that on, then you're going to want a base coat. Base coat, similar to the color of flake, is usually the best. I'm using a silver or chrome flake here. So I have this heavy metal silver base coat. I want a couple coats of that over the primer or sealer. And then you're going to use, this is color blender. This is just an Intercoat clear base coat basically. I mix this 50% Intercoat with 50% reducer, and then here's the flake that I put in there. So this is a really light gold. This is a holographic silver, 0.008, and here it is mixed up. You want quite a bit of flake, almost more than you would think. When you first start doing it, it seems like you got a lot of flake in there. Seems like you just need to keep adding more. You don't want to clog the gun up. You want it to still be liquid, obviously, but you do want it pretty thick. And you're going to want a gun with a big enough tip to get the flake out of. I'm using this gun right here. This has a 1.5 tip. This will spray a 0.008 flake. Then I'm using this mini gun here for the base and for the clear. So we're gonna put the silver base down, and then, you know, depends how much coverage you want. I'm gonna do probably 3 coats of this so I get full coverage with the flake. And after that flashes, you're gonna want, just use some cheap clear and get 3 good coats over the flake to make sure it covers it, and that you can sand it flat without hitting the flake. And then obviously you need some lacquer thinner or something to clean your guns and stuff like that. I'm using some disposable cups. If you use the disposable cups, they have the mesh filter in here. You want that for your base and the clear, but when you're spraying this flake, you got to get rid of that. Just take a razor blade, cut the mesh out of it and rip it out of there, because if you do that, it's just going to clog up. All your flake's going to end up in that mesh. So when you mix flake, make sure you do it without any chunks or junk in there, because you can't filter it. That has to go straight through the gun. Okay, after you get your base down and get your few coats of Intercoat clear mixed with your flake, and then a few coats of clear on top of that, let it dry and sand it flat. So I use 600 for this. So after you spray your clear on with that flake underneath there, it's gonna be lumpy. It'll have texture, grit to it. You'll feel it, and you're gonna want to sand this completely smooth. Okay, so when you're sanding this, like I said, I use a 600. You're gonna want to do it wet, and add just a little bit of soap to your water. That helps the paper slide a little better, and it doesn't clog up as much. So you're gonna keep sanding this until it looks like this. It's gonna lose all of its gloss. It's not gonna be shiny. Doesn't really look too great, but this is what you want. You'll be able to feel that it's smooth, but then the way you really tell is, so all this is done down here on these spots. This is what it'll look like when it's not sanded enough. So right here is little shiny spots that the sandpaper didn't hit. It didn't hit right here, so it's leaving like a little crater. That's what this looked like up here, all over. And you'll just keep sanding until you get rid of all of these little shiny spots. On the back, you can see where the letters kept my sandpaper from going down. It's shiny, so I'll hit this with a maroon scuff pad. Same thing with these little corners in here that were hard to get to. And you just keep sanding this till it's smooth, but you don't want to hit the flake. If you start hitting the flake, then you have to stop, clean it, put another coat of clear, another couple coats of clear, and sand again. If you hit silver flake, it's not terrible because it's chrome, silver, and you'll just expose a little silver, but you don't want to get way down into it. If you're using a colored flake, when you sand into the flake, you're gonna sand the color off of the flake. So if you, let's say this was all red flake and you hit some of the flake when you're sanding through, you would have all red and you'd have little chrome spots that would stick out really bad. So if you ever get down where you're gonna hit the flake, you gotta stop and add some more clear. And you'll be able to tell, you think this looks bad when you're first doing it, you feel like you're ruining it, but it just makes it dull. It gives something for the next coats to stick on. This is where you're gonna put your tape and your graphics, candies. If you were just doing flake and nothing else, you would clear over this and be finished. But you can still tell that it'll look good. Here's some wax and grease remover. And you could use water, anything. When you put that over that and get a little shiny over it, your flake all comes back and looks good. This is what it'll look like when you get your clear over it and graphics and things like that. I kind of just got going on this project and I had the camera all set up and I forgot to hit record. So I skipped a few steps. I just, after this lace I did here, I unmasked this square on both sides. And I used this lace right here. I put it against there and used some magnets to stick it on there and sprayed this candy black through the lace. And then I used Spanish Gold, House of Color Spanish Gold candy, and some Tropic Orange around the edge, just did a fade. And now I'm going to put a stencil over this because I'm doing this for a car show that's coming up. Okay, I got this stencil stuck on. I'm going to take off the transfer paper, airbrush through it. All right, got this stencil all placed, ready to spray. after got the color and the graphics down, I put a clear Intercoat over all of it, one coat, a clear base coat, and then after that I did 3 coats of 2K clear and let that dry, and then I sanded the whole thing down with 600 to get rid of all the tape lines and smooth everything out. Then did another 3 wet coats of clear on top of that, and now to the point where I'm going to buff and polish. So after I let the 3 coats dry, I sanded everything down with 1000, 1500, 2000, and then 3000. So this is what it should look like. Everything is smooth and flat, but it's not super shiny yet. So after this, we're going to use a wool pad. I used this first on a wool pad, then I used this second on a foam pad, or you can also use this. This does both steps on the wool pad and the foam pad. So this has the dull finish. So then after it's buffed and polished and all the sanding, this is what it should look like. Now I'm gonna buff and polish it. So you could use a big buffer on this on small jobs like this or smaller. I use a drill with a small pad. It's just easier to get in the edges and around the corners. Okay, so you can see it's starting to get a little shine to it. And after we do that, we'll polish it and it'll look like glass.